Hey, good evening, everyone. Sorry about the little bit of a delay. We had some personal things going on, so had to push this back by about, 10 minutes or so. But we are here, week 7. Hope everyone is doing well tonight. I'm going to do a little bit of a diatribe as people start joining here. I don't even know if that's a word or if it's the right word, but I'm using it about this slate. So, couple things. For those of you who have been here before, welcome back. For those of you who have not been here, thanks for joining. And we're going to talk a little bit about primarily DFS, but open to answering really any questions that you may have here tonight. So, a couple ground rules. The more information that you post in the chat regarding your questions, the easier it is that I can answer your questions, and we will go from there. So I'll go for about an hour. We'll go until about 10:15 tonight, given that we started a little bit late, and answer any and all questions that you guys have. So a lot of breaking news this week, primarily in the space of like Christian McCaffrey. Is he in play? And probably not. I don't even know if he's going to play. Deontay Foreman and Chuba Hubbard. Look, I mean, I understand the thinking there. I'm not doing it. What's the upside? I think that's what you have to ask yourself. I mean, I get the value. I do. And if you wanted to take a shot, I would probably take a shot on Foreman over Hubbard. But just because I think he's a little bit more complete of a back. But the matchup sucks against Tampa Bay. PJ Walker sucks. Would it surprise anybody if they lost like 24-3? Not really. But we'll see. I mean, there's going to be people who play Deontay Foreman at 4K on DraftKings simply because he's 4K, right? And if he just falls into the end zone, he pays off. If he catches 2 passes, he comes pretty close to paying off. So it doesn't take much, but it does take up a vital spot on the roster. I know he's only like $1,400 more than like a Travis Etienne or a Kenyon Drake. I might be more enticed by. But we just don't know how that backfield's going to go, and it's really hard to even think about Deontay Foreman or Chuba Hubbard. I don't want to be in a spot where Sunday at 6 or 7 o'clock comes around and I say, look, I should not have played one of these guys. So yeah, go ahead and post questions in the chat. We'll get through those, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. I think some questions are going to be at the tight end position, whether we go cheap. I think it depends on the site, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk through favorite quarterbacks, whether we're playing Dak, whether we're playing Lamar Jackson. I'm sure all of those questions will come up, but go ahead and ask anything on your mind. If the only thing that I really struggle with, and I sort of put this out there last time, I have a really hard time with the trade questions. That's just not my forte. I admittedly, like, I'm so focused on, I do rushing and passing matchups for this week for Football Guys. I do a bunch of DFS content. So like, if we want to talk matchup specific, if we want to talk about like who the right players are, I do a lot of on defense type stuff, but trades I'm not particularly good at just because I don't have time to even do them in my own league. So you can post them. I just don't know that I'm going to answer it unless it's like a true 1-for-1 same position, like who do you like better going forward type deal. But like the 4-for-4s and like there's so much to that I just, given that we only have an hour, I probably will pass on those questions. I'm sure one of our Football Guys people will answer those questions. But message them on Twitter. Best advice there. The matchup stinks, but is Hubbard cash viable on FanDuel? Not particularly. I mean, look, I said it at the top, but what's his price? 4,600. I get it. And if this was a week where you had the Justin Jeffersons, the Cooper Kupps, the Josh Allens, the Jalen Hurts, the AJ Browns, Dalvin Cook, Stephon Diggs of the world, the very premier wide receivers who you could justify going up to, all right, maybe. But from my perspective, I don't get the sense that there's those premium options that's worth, like Devontae Adams, great. Like at 8,600 on FanDuel, he's a great play. But, Devontae Adams plus Chuba Hubbard is like, what is that, like 13-1? Are they going to outscore CeeDee Lamb in like another 60, like DK Metcalf? Probably not, right? I feel better with that pairing. I'm trying to go with the more balanced option this week in cash. I understand if you want to take a shot, I would probably go with Foreman over Hubbard, given that I think he has a path to more playing time. But to be honest, I'm not doing either. I'm going cheap at the tight end position on FanDuel. I think that Greg Dulcich, I don't feel great about it. I'll fully admit it. I didn't know who the hell this guy was a week ago, but he's getting all the buzz, and I think he's going to be somewhat popular in cash at 4K on FanDuel. So if he catches 2 or 3 passes, all right, I'll take it. Any thoughts on Sony Michel or Isaiah? I'm assuming that's Isaiah Spiller. I don't think CJ is still in the league. Haven't given it a lot of thought. Is there a reason to? Is Eckler out? Thinking that there's a blowout potential? No. I'd rather go the Carolina guys than those guys. Is Drake a good GPP option? Yeah, I think he's great. I mean, as a GPP option, as a contrarian GPP option, I think he's a great play. Look, J.K. Dobbins is out. Kenyon Drake looked great last week, right? What did he have? 10 for 119 and a touchdown? The only concern I have is Justice Hill is back. If Justice Hill was still out, I would be all over Kenyon Drake. Cleveland's run D is horrific. I think he's a great pivot off of Lamar Jackson, and I think Mark Andrews is somewhat of a trap this week. He's just overpriced for what he is. Like he's a fine tight end. Don't get me wrong, but should he be, on DraftKings, he's pulling this up, 7,400. For FanDuel, he's at a ridiculous price. He's like 8,500, which is like absurd. But Mark Andrews has. I know your question is not about Mark Andrews, but I did want to address this week. Over the last 3 games, Mark Andrews has 210 total yards. Okay. David Njoku has 161, 169, 219. Andrews has 2 touchdowns there, but is he worth an extra $3,200? Maybe. The upside for you need 110 and 2 for Mark Andrews to pay off. It's just really hard because the low end of options this week is not great. I mean, you look on DraftKings and it's really been sort of this summation of the season is they are really trying to get away from those 3K guys that are going to catch 4 or 5 passes that you're just like, hey, I'm okay with this because he's 3K, right? So someone historically I'll just use a name, but Wan'Dale Robinson, right? Came back last week, had a good game, but he still hasn't done much on the season. He's 4,500 this week. Historically, that guy would be like 3,700. You look sub 4K, there is nothing, right? So I'm looking at Footballguys projections right now. The best guy who is sub 4K for our projections is Khalif Raymond or Paris Campbell. Like nothing. So, anybody who's done anything this year gets priced above 4K. So that's the concern I have with Andrews is like there's not that offset that there has been historically. Chuba to take over at some point, maybe, right? We don't know. I mean, it's whoever. It's the least bad option, right? So I think Foreman gets the first crack. He's been in the league, 6 or 7 years? Maybe not that long, but he's 26. He was in the 2017 draft. So 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. This is his 6th year in the NFL. He was on some really bad Houston Texans teams. Couldn't beat out Lamar Miller ever. Never really had much of a playing time. So, how good is D'Onta Foreman? Like, those that are pounding the table and saying, yeah, let's go with D'Onta Foreman are crazy. He's a fine back, but am I going to get overly excited about him? Not really. Am I going to get overly excited about Chuba Hubbard? Same story. So, it's can they catch lightning in a bottle with one of these guys? Can one of them play a McCaffrey role and just catch like 4 or 5 passes? Could. But for me to sit here and speculate that I know the answer to how PJ Walker, who completed 10 passes for 10 of his 16 passes for 60 yards, is going to perform. Anybody who's selling you that is like a snake oil salesman who's just guessing. That's the reality. Unless they have an inside source into how they're going to game plan and but neither are great options. So with that said, I mean, if you guys are in a season-long league and one of them's available, put them on your bench. Who knows? But if you guys can give this a thumbs up, it does help grow the numbers. It does help the show. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. You guys know the deal. Blah, 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 blah. Also, this show is brought to you by our Footballguys package subscription packages. So most of my content is over there. We do have monthly rates this year, which a lot of people have taken us up on. So fairly reasonably priced for all of the content that you get. I think it's like $10 or $15 a month, and you get like 60 articles. It's insane. So maybe not that many, but more content than you could ever consume about basically anything that you could ever want to know. Yeah, you jumped on the Hubbard bandwagon last year, right? So never again. I'm not going to write him off, but not this week, not against Tampa Bay. DraftKings question: 9,000 to spend at a tight end and flex. So DraftKings is interesting this week because you can go one of two ways. You can go with the cheap option in Greg Dulcich for Cade Otton. On DraftKings, I prefer Cade Otton at 2,700, which leaves me 6,300 left. So at a flex position, I'm just pulling it up, 6,300. Chris Godwin or Breece Hall, both really good plays. Something like that. If you wanted to go, 9,000 left. I wouldn't go with like my favorite spend up tight end is David Njoku, but I wouldn't. It's too expensive. So I think you're going to have to go with either Otton or Dulcich, and I would probably go Otton, and then I would go Breece Hall, or if you don't have Breece Hall in there, I'd probably go Breece Hall, but you could also go Chris Godwin. FanDuel Cash, who's the best spend out? Yeah, this is a disaster. Nobody. So the question is, for those of you just listening, FanDuel Cash, who are the best spend down receivers? I'll do my best to answer this. I've looked hard at Curtis Samuel. His numbers were awful last week. But that whole offense was awful, right? I was at the game here in Chicago, and he dropped, but he was overthrown on a ball. Got his hands on it, but it would have been like a 40-yard touchdown pass. So, like with Taylor Heineke coming in, Green Bay's pass defense is still pretty good. Do I trust that? I don't love it. I mean, it's fine. But like Wan'Dale Robinson on a non-PPR site, on just a half-point PPR site, not doing it. Garrett Wilson at Denver, not doing it. Donovan Peoples-Jones at Baltimore, like that could pay off. He's looked good the last couple weeks, but like it's bleak. I'm not paying down for any of these guys. I'm going with a more balanced approach, just because like my favorite is probably Robert Woods at 5,800. But you know what you're getting with Robert Woods. That's not going to inspire a lot of confidence either, right? You could have 4 for 40 and get nothing out of it. Yeah, John, I saw your call. I saw that on the Power Grid comment. I'm assuming this is DraftKings, right? Like, I would think. I'm looking at this right now, and like Matt Ryan at 5,400, it's a good price for sure. Going up against Tennessee is pulling up their numbers here. They've struggled against quarterbacks, so I don't hate it. Right? I'd love it more if Jonathan Taylor was out, but certainly not the worst option. I'd prefer Geno Smith. I think the Seattle Chargers game just completely shoots out. But you've been on Matt Ryan all week, so I would say stick with your gut. It's not the worst call. Clyde Edwards-Helaire or AJ Dillon. AJ Dillon for me. I do like Dillon this week. He's a guy who, in games that they win, gets touches. And pulling it up now, but in their 3 wins, he has 47 touches in his 3 wins. He has 26 touches in his 3 losses. Those are carry numbers. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is in a much worse matchup. He has over 10 carries like once this year. So I'm staying away from that. Pittman or Mike Williams in FanDuel Cash, I would go Pittman. Yeah. Mike Williams, he's so frustrating, right? I mean, I love this Chargers-Seahawks game. It's my favorite shootout game of the week. But Mike Williams, here's his numbers for the year. 10 yards, 113 yards. 15 yards, 120 yards. 134 yards, and 17 yards. That's 3 games with under 20 yards, and in every other game, he has over 110. So, in terms of upside, like how are we supposed to predict that? It's like, a game against Jacksonville, he should have, or a game against Jacksonville and a game against Las Vegas, he should have been in good matchups. This week going up against Seattle, he should be in a good matchup. So, like, is he a good play, especially if Keenan Allen's out? Yeah. Do I love him in cash? I think that's hard. I like Pittman, Calvin. I think he's in a really good spot this week. So, could he pay off? Yeah, I think he could. Thoughts on Wan'Dale Robinson? No. Short receiver. Short receiver that's not going to really pay off too much. All right, we are back. Sorry about that, everyone. I hate Xfinity with an absolute passion. You pay for gigabyte internet and it decides to go out for a second. So we are back. Apologies. Thanks everyone for staying with us. Where were we? Wan'Dale Robinson. Yeah. Wan'Dale's like fine. He had 3 catches last week, but like, are we gonna get overly excited about 3 catches? No. The Giants, I mean, I like Saquon Barkley a lot this week. The Giants game's weird, right? Because it's like they're 3-point underdogs on the road, but they're 5-1 against a 2-4, 2-5 Jacksonville team. So kind of weird. But if you're in a deep season long league or something, you can play it. But DraftKings GPP is all in on Jacobs. I think that's the right move. I think Josh Jacobs on DraftKings is an absolute must play. But if I think about DraftKings, it's other running backs that you could potentially play. Like, he's not that expensive, but Jacobs isn't that expensive, so you can mess around a little bit. But I like Breece Hall. Kenneth Walker is fine. I do think that he could be a trap this week, particularly in GPPs, simply because I think the game script could get away from them a little bit. I think they could find themselves down somewhat early. Dameon Pierce, I don't think is a horrible play at 6,400. And any cheap guys that I like. In a GPP, I really like Travis Etienne. I worry about James Robinson against the defensive front of the Giants, but I think Etienne could give them some horizontal off tackle type stuff, which could beat the Giants. So hopefully that answers your question. Like, would I pay up? If I'm going to pay up, I'm probably going Saquon at 79. Derrick Henry at 82 is not a horrible price, but I'd rather go Austin Eckler at that point. So, like, if I'm paying up, I'm going Austin Eckler at 83. I think he's going to be extremely popular. And like I talked about, that Seattle Chargers game is a game that I'm targeting. So those are some options there. Do I anticipate that Mahomes is staying really low? Yeah, I don't think Mahomes is going to be that highly rostered. I have him at Mahomes, like 6% maybe, something like that. It's a bad matchup, and Mahomes has topped 300 yards just twice this year. So, the Bills were a terrible matchup, and he's largely matchup proof. So, is he a good GPP play? Sure. Is it crazy to trust 3 Seattle players in cash? I'm assuming you mean Geno Smith, one of Metcalf, or Lockett and Ken Walker. If the game goes like I think it's going to go, I think that's fine. Hey, Waffles, how are you? Pollard versus Lions or CMC versus, oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. I'd probably go Tony Pollard. But I'm hoping Don will hear something in the morning regarding, like, Schefter will report out something. Schefter will report out something about his playing time. Yeah, Dulcich was John's pick, but we were talking about DraftKings, and I said I preferred Cade Otton. I still prefer Cade Otton. FanDuel, I like Dulcich because he's the bare minimum. He's $4,000. Cade Otton's like $4,900. So there's a huge discrepancy between those two. DraftKings, he's $200 more expensive. So yeah, Andrews is someone I'm staying away from. Anyone know if CMC will be active and startable? He'll be active from the sound of it. Is he going to be startable? Maybe. I think people think he's going to play a handful of snaps, and he's probably going to get 7, 8, 9 carries. Probably catch like 3 passes. Is that startable in DFS? Probably not. Definitely not in DFS. Is it startable in a season-long league? Depends what your other options are. So, Jimmy G or Jared Goff? I would go Jared Goff. Sky Moore at 3,500 could be a DFS option, or a DraftKings option. I've spent 0 time looking at Sky Moore this week. I mean, it tells you the state of the sub 4K guys, right? Sky Moore doesn't have more than 2 catches in a game. So I think you're reaching there a little bit, but I mean, all those sub 4K guys, which we talked about, are reaches. It's who do you feel in your gut could benefit. Brady going to go off this week on what? A Microsoft Surface tablet? What's the over-under on how many he breaks this week? No, Brady's not my pool this week just because that game, like, would it surprise anyone if it's 21-6? His price hasn't come down enough, and both of his really good games have been in losses, I believe. So pulling that up to double check, but yeah. Well, no, I guess he did throw for 351 against the Falcons. His really good game is a loss to the Chiefs. What's his price? It is Brady, 6,300. Yeah, I mean, I'd rather go Dak or I'd rather spend down on DraftKings. Raymond over Wan'Dale Robinson. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I mean, like, Raymond has upside. We'll put it that way. Like, and DJ Chark is out. So Leaf Raymond had 5 for 45 last week. Our last game, I should say. Wando Robinson has what? One game in which he had three receptions. Did score a touchdown, but it's close. Wandale is more expensive, so I think we were talking about sub 4K guys, but if all things equal, give me Wandale, I guess. But in DFS, all things are never equal. So Khalif Raymond is 800 cheaper on DraftKings. I'd rather go Khalif Raymond. DraftKings running backs, Brees Hall, Josh Jacobs. Take your pick on Ken Walker or spend up to like a Austin Eckler if you can get there. What is a Raiders Texans stack? Oh boy. Well, obviously it's Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, Brandon Cooks. You could throw Josh Jacobs in there or not. It doesn't really matter. Like you'll have enough uniqueness there that shouldn't really matter. I mean, you could also potentially go Josh Jacobs, Dameon Pierce if you don't like the quarterbacks. I don't think that's horrible, and just hope that the touchdowns are rushing. Hines, Drake, or Rashad White? Drake. Yeah, give me Drake. Naheem Hines, I'm never like I don't mess with Naheem Hines. I've done it too many times. His games come out of nowhere. His role doesn't really change when Jonathan Taylor's out. Jonathan Taylor's playing, so like it doesn't really help. And Rashad White, like he's a guy. I mean, let me just I spent next to no time looking up Rashad White. So I mean, 4 carries. He does catch the ball. So if you're in a PPR league, like, and you want 6 points, you could go Rashad White. I think Kenny Drake has far more upside. Foster Moreau, he's fine. But Darren Waller's out, but Foster Moreau has had how many chances? Is he cheap enough? Like, let's see. Foster. Yeah, you could. Yeah, I think he's fine. 2,800. I might prefer him over Kate Otten, actually. It's a good call. Oh, you need 2 of these 3? Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Drake's definitely one. I don't know. Rashad White. At least he's guaranteed points. Like, oh, another Rashad White question. No. I mean, look, right? If they're up by 21, that means Brady and or Godwin, Evans, Fournette have already gotten them there. Unless the defense, like Rashad White could come in the fourth quarter, but at 5,200, like it's not a good enough price, right? Deontay Foreman or Chuba Hubbard's going to get more touches than Rashad White. Travis Etienne at $200 more is going to get more touches. Kareem Hunt is going to get more touches. Like, even if Kenyon Drake is going to get more touches, even if everything went right, what everything going right means, to be honest, is Leonard Fournette getting hurt. That's the only way. Realistically, like, because if they're up by 21, you're going to have all of those other pieces and Rashad White. I think you're burning money there. If the price was lower, yeah, sure. Evans. Woolen is going to shut down Williams. Okay. Yeah, he is starting to sound a little bit like Tyreek Hill and that he's boomer bust. Best defense on for $2,700 or cheaper. Best defense $2,700 or cheaper. Jets 26. Yeah, it's the Jets this week. Going up against Brett Rippon, even if Russell Wilson were to play, he's not going to, but yeah, it's clearly the Jets, Jets. Godwin, Jones, Samuel gets me to Eckler. I hate Sea Chicken's volatility at wide receiver with Carroll. No, I don't. No, Geno Smith there. Lockett's not 100% healthy, so I would probably prefer Metcalf, but Lockett's a really good price. I think they've both been fine. Not amazing, but and who's Jones? Is it Zay? Oof. That's what I mean. Like it's a tougher week than people think. I probably wouldn't go Eckler there, to be honest. I don't know. Keenan should play. Everything that I'm hearing he's going to play. I mean, but who knows with this guy, right? So he practices and then he says, like, should I sit out this week? Should I not? Like, would it be smart to sit out until the bye? Who knows? I mean, play or don't. That's my whole thing. Like, you're paid a bunch of money. Either play or like shut up. Lamar or Brady? Lamar. I don't love either one, to be honest, in DraftKings Cash. Just because I'm chasing 300-yard bonuses. 8,000 is not a terrible price for Lamar. But like I would rather go down to Geno Smith. I'd rather go down to or go up to Dak over Brady. Or even Justin Herbert, I think, or Joe Burrow are better plays than Brady. Yeah, sorry. I'm finally caught up to where my internet crapped out. Thank you everyone for staying with that, by the way. I mean, 73 people here. If you guys can give this a thumbs up, that would be awesome. I thought for sure the whole stream would leave when the internet crapped out. So really appreciate everyone hanging in for that minute of silence. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Woods, Myers, or Dobbs in the flex. Half-point PPR. Yikes. Let me open up the Monday projections. Myers. Dobbs. Woods or CEH? Probably not CEH. I would probably go Robert Woods. Don't feel great about it. Like you could go Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but like matchup's difficult. Doesn't get that many consistent touches, but neither does Robert Woods. So yeah, I mean, I have them all projected within a point except Romeo Dobbs. So any of those three, I think, are fine. Jags defense is soft. It is. I mean, it's. But why are they favored? It like that whole thing just hurts my brain to even think about. Like how. But it makes me want to take the Jags because somebody knows something that I don't. Wow. St. Brown, Waddle, or Godwin? Two is playing, right? So Waddle, St. Brown, Godwin. Close. I'd probably take St. Brown and Godwin. I don't love that Godwin doesn't score touchdowns. So that hurts. But St. Brown is definitely in the lineup just because he's the sole guy there, especially DJ Shark out. And give me the team that I feel better about scoring points. I feel better about Tampa Bay scoring points than Miami in a primetime game. So it's close though. Yeah, that's probably the play in Survivor this week. Trying to look to see who else might be an option. I mean, obviously Tampa Bay. If you haven't used them, I think that they're gonna be one of the most popular. I don't see any way that they lose. But so they would probably be at the top, and then I would think the Raiders aren't a bad option. How many times you're going to be able to use the Raiders? So I might go the Raiders over the Patriots. The Bears are somewhat sneaky. Justin Fields has been playing a little bit better. I also think the Ravens just destroy the Browns this week. So, but Cooks, Ayuk, Duvernay, or Kirk. So definitely not Duvernay. I don't think I'm going Ayuk with the addition of McCaffrey there. So Cooks and Kirk. Roster percentages for Dak Prescott. As of right now, I have 13% on FanDuel and 11.5% on DraftKings. Bateman or Lazard? Lazard. Yeah. This is where we lose everybody, but watch the numbers fall to 32 people after I say this. I like Aaron Rodgers this week. I know. Look, everyone wrote him off after the first 6 games last year. He played Washington in week 7 last year. What did he do? 280 yards and 3 touchdowns. That sparked a trend for him to go on and win the MVP. I'm not saying he's going to win the MVP. I don't think anyone predicted last year that he, after 6 weeks, could have won the MVP. Everyone was talking about Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and those guys. Don't count out Aaron Rodgers. Washington's pass defense sucks. Rodgers has faced a somewhat difficult schedule. We look at Aaron Rodgers so far this year, and he has faced what? The Ravens. Okay. No, he hasn't faced the Ravens. The Jets. That was a weird one. I thought he should have done better, but the Jets have a sneaky good defense. The Giants in London. New England, Tampa Bay. I think most people give a pass there. Chicago has a good pass defense. The run defense is horrendous, and the Packers just ran the ball the entire game. And then he never plays well in week 1 because he doesn't play in the preseason. So I discredit the Minnesota game. So Chicago, Tampa Bay, New England, New York. And in 4 of those last 5 games, he's thrown for 2 touchdowns. Okay. He is a 30-yard touchdown pass away from nobody caring that he's sucked. He goes 280-3 this week. Nobody's saying anything. But because he's averaging about 250 he's about 250-2 the past several weeks, he's not living up to expectations. He's about 2% rostered, and he has these games where everyone's like, it's Aaron Rodgers. And I'm not a Packers fan. I'm not a hater, just not a fan. I don't really like Aaron Rodgers for all the other stuff, but I'm just saying, don't be surprised if Aaron Rodgers has a game. May not be this week, but at 2% rostered, 2%. Like, really? That's where we're at for the 2-time back-to-back MVP? Nobody wants this guy? He has a 303, 304 yard. When I say 303, 300 yards, 3 touchdown, 300 yards, 4 touchdown game coming at some point. And if you have him at 2%, you're going to be in a really, really good spot. And we actually gain people after I just said what I would think most people would consider a ridiculous take. Do I have to take a Giants receiver? Like, I really don't want to be honest. I really don't want to. You guys seem sold on Wandale, but like, why not? Why are we just not considering Saquon? Like, why do I have to take a Giants receiver? Yeah, I'm not doing it. Thoughts on Swift with his injury situation? He's a GPP play. Who knows? Like, they held him out long enough. He should be fine. This should be a game where, the Lions are going to need him. Dallas has a good defense. This is another game that could be a sneaky shootout. So, yeah. I don't want to answer trade questions. Sure. I don't like Mixon, so sure. Teams like Texans don't utilize tight end positions. Yeah. I mean, they do inside the red zone, but you're chasing touchdowns. I'm not sure what this is in reference to, Najib. I don't know if I pronounced your name correctly either, so I apologize for that. What to do C-Mac this week? Yeah, Christian McCaffrey. We have 80 people here, so I'll go over it again. Christian McCaffrey. If he's in your season-long league, you probably play him. You probably don't have better options. DFS, no chance in hell. He's going to be like 1% rostered. I don't even know why he's scoring points, right? So what's weird is Robbie Anderson was traded to Arizona, and DraftKings sent out a note that, like, hey, he's not going to get points this week. But Christian McCaffrey is? I don't know. But that's regardless of that. For his price, he's too expensive. Did I lose you guys? Hold on. No. Breaking news. DeAndre Swift not expected to play this week. So everything I just said about DeAndre Swift, ignore it. I think that could push Jamal Williams into a territory of not on FanDuel. He's way too expensive. Checking his DraftKings price. 6,100. He's a decent price on DraftKings. So, PPR. Give me Latavius. Breece Hall or Dameon Pierce. Is it close? No, for me, it's close. I don't want to say it's not close. I have Breece Hall a little bit higher, but it's definitely close. I think the Dameon Pierce matchup is somewhat difficult, but yeah. Do I think that makes my head hurt? I have no idea. Like, I haven't looked at those guys at all. To be honest, I don't even want to speculate. Somebody out there who's doing some analysis or some article is probably a better source than me. How worried am I with Lockett? I think he's going to be too popular. Like, why is he 15% rostered? He's been out all week with a hamstring injury. I like Metcalf. I think he's going to face J.C. Jackson, which is probably the better of the two matchups. J.C. Jackson, the Chargers paid $85 million to, and he was benched last week because of performance. Explain how that happens. Meanwhile, Asante Samuel Jr. on the other side is playing outstanding. So, like, J.C. Jackson is 6'2". Asante Samuel's like 5'9", 5'10". So they're not going to put Asante Samuel on DK Metcalf. That'd be 7-inch difference. So he's probably going to get J.C. Jackson. The Chargers have said that they're going to come out and play him again this week. They have to because of how much money they're paying him. So, but if he's ineffective, I want the guy that is facing an ineffective corner. Allen is kind of confusing. If Allen plays, he's in play. I mean, Allen's a guy who is not gonna play through injury. He's not gonna play when he's not 100%. He's shown that how many times. He is not tough. So, yeah, I think if Allen's playing, you play him. I think Keenan Allen's gonna miss, but I'm like the only guy who thinks that. The quotes that he had said earlier this week have completely written him off my board, right? As far as like, hey, it would be smart if I'd probably just waited it out, but I'm trying to see if I can go. And this freaking guy. Would I play Zeke and Pollard? No. The only running backs that I've thought about doing this week are AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones on FanDuel because their price is ridiculously cheap. The way I think about Dallas is even if they are winning, which is a great scenario for Zeke and Pollard to both be effective, they need to get Dak right, and they need to get this offense right. They know that they're as good as Dak will be. And regardless of they're not gonna run the ball 35 times and throw it 20. They're probably gonna go with a more balanced approach this week. I don't know who Jay Jettis is. No idea. Anything on Denver for GPP? No. I shouldn't say no. I mean, I haven't even looked at a single Denver player, but if I were to like Jerry Jeudy's a decent price, but no, I can't play Cortland Sutton at 7K. It's just not something I'm interested in. Thoughts on Gus Edwards in Montgomery or Brian Robinson? Is that David Montgomery? Because I'm playing David Montgomery if I could. I mean, Gus Edwards, I don't know if he's going to have a role. He's definitely out. He was activated off the PUP list, but like Kenyon Drake's active, Justice Hill is active. I don't see Gus Edwards having a major role. If it's Montgomery, then I would go Montgomery. If it was Brian Robinson or Gus Edwards, I'd go Brian Robinson. I thought Brian Robinson looked decent last week. Rodgers and Aaron Jones stack. It's interesting. You'll be one of the few that like him this week, or few that have that this week. Yeah, I love Rodgers this week. No, Rodgers' ceiling is 304. And Lazard's ceiling is 110 and 2. I mean, Alan Lazard just came off of a 100-yard game, didn't he? 116 against the Patriots, 76 in a touchdown against the Jets. Not saying it's probable, but he's the two-time MVP at 2% rostered. do with it. I mean, there's only 80 people here, so it's not really going to change that much if you guys play him. And probably only a couple of you guys will. I don't blame you, by the way, if you think I'm crazy for the Aaron Rodgers takes, because I probably am crazy, but that's okay. Start Gus Edwards or Wandale? Wandale, I guess. I just don't know. Like, is Gus Edwards going to have a role? I'm not getting into that here. Has nothing to do with COVID, by the way. I don't care if you get vaccinated or not. I really don't. I don't like the politics of it, but the whole yeah, I'm not gonna get into all of Aaron Rodgers' other stuff. Tua Tagovailoa or Kirk Cousins rest of season. Tua. Yeah. Dolchich didn't play without Russ? Sure. Why not? I don't even know who Dolchich is. So, Brett Rippon as a backup quarterback. Backup quarterbacks often look to their tight end. So, if anything, I think his upside might be better without Russ. Like, he had 3 targets last week. Yeah. Would you rank these guys? How would you rank these guys? Not Bateman. I mean, yeah, not Bateman. Probably Zayd. Oh God, this is brutal. Let's go George Pickens, Zay Jones, DJ Moore, or Rashad Bateman. I don't know. I mean, it's whoever catches a long pass. So, Pickens has shown 2 out of the 3 games, 2 out of the last 3 games that he can have a role against 3 difficult matchups, right? So, Kenny Pickett and George Pickens are supposedly tight. It's their future. They're playing to rebuild in Pittsburgh. So, would I start Lockett in a regular league? Yeah, I'd play him over those guys if he's active. Hopefully, we'll know before that. That's a 4:00 game. So, thoughts on Kate Otten tomorrow on DraftKings? I like him better than Dolchich. On FanDuel, he's too expensive. I'm a spreadsheet warrior. I don't know what that means. I don't even know what a spreadsheet warrior is. Do I watch every announcer and what they call Justin Jefferson? No. I normally have 3 or 4 games going on at the same time. Josh Jacobs, the only free square in cash. Yeah. Gus Edwards, Khalil Herbert, or Foreman this week. Give me. I don't know where all this. I mean, I don't know where the Gus Edwards talk is coming from. Let's take a chance on Foreman. Roman hyped up Gus Edwards. Okay. But they've also, I'm just trying to look up, see if there's anything here that tells me that I'm Greg Roman said he's looking really good, but yeah, I don't know, to be honest. I mean, Gus Edwards last year, he was good. I mean, he was decent, but 9-7-7, 9-3-7, a couple 12s in there, but no Justice Hill last year either. No Kenyon Drake. He's going to get I would say 6 to 8 carries. Trying to see if there's a prop out here somewhere for The Ravens. Oh, they don't have one on there. I mean, if there's news that comes out tomorrow that says Gus Edwards is getting first crack, sure. People, we've answered like 3 or 4 Kenyon Drake questions. Yeah, but okay. All right. Pick one: Sony Michel, Jeff Wilson, Deontay Foreman, or Josh Reynolds. Good Lord. Not doing Sony Michel. No. Wilson, Foreman, or Josh Reynolds. Yikes. I don't know, man. Give me Deontay Foreman, I guess. None of those like options are good. I'm sorry, but none of them are good. And I think you know that they're not great options either. Foreman at least has like some intrigue, right? Because we don't know what we don't know there. But Sony Michel, like pass. Jeff Wilson, who knows what his role will be with Christian McCaffrey playing. If Keenan doesn't play, do we like DeAndre Carter? I mean, here's the thing with that, right? So we've had several games where the Chargers have been without Keenan Allen. Michael Bandy has 3 catches on the season. Like, they just called him back up from the practice squad, right? Or they signed him, it says. So DeAndre Carter, like his season high is 5 targets. I don't know that I can get behind either one of those guys, to be honest. I know Josh Palmer's out, but maybe. But even like Josh Palmer had 1 good game. Like, I'm trying to look at these other games, 2 good games, I guess. But I'm trying to look at these other games where see who like. For me, if Keenan doesn't play, if you want to take a shot on DeAndre Carter, fine. I don't love it, admittedly. But somebody's going to have to step up if Mike Williams has his disappearing act again. I think it's going to be Gerald Everett, but I love Gerald Everett this week as a GPP play, but that's basically it. All right, I'm going to go for like 5 more minutes. I know I have a number of questions that I still need to get to, so I'll answer any questions that come up between now and the next 5 minutes. Cooper or Higgins in cash? Higgins. Oh, I'm barely on Instagram, to be honest. I have one, but I don't ever go on it. Thanks, Daryl. Thanks for coming and hanging out. I try to be as real as possible. When there's things I don't know, I'll fully admit that. I tend to think that that's the best way instead of trying to overstate. Like, yes, I know everything, because I certainly don't. A lot of the same questions. Murray, Hill, or Zay Jones? Probably Murray. I think that he has the path to like the most touches in that offense. Trying to look back, classic Mike. Yeah, if you want to go Sony Michel, I'm not going to kill you for it. Like, none of those are that great of an option. So, like, Maybe the answer is Josh Reynolds, to be honest. But I don't know why our projections are so low on him. Is he questionable? Yeah, he's questionable. That's why. That's why. Upgraded from no practice to a limited practice on Friday. So if Josh Reynolds goes, you might want to go Reynolds. Our projections are very low on him because we have some guys that don't think he's going to go. So, but if you're saying, hey, I think Sony gets in the end zone, by all means, go for it. I'm not going to hate it. What about Gallup? High risk, high reward is what I would say about Gallup. I mean, I've said it that I think they need to get Dak right, and I think that starts with CeeDee Lamb, but it also means Michael Gallup. It also means potentially Dalton Schultz. So, hey, thanks for hanging out, guys. Thanks everyone for showing up. A lot of fun. Keep Brian Robinson or Gus Edwards. I would keep Brian Robinson. I think that he is the path long term to be the guy. Gus Edwards, we saw when he was like the primary guy, still wasn't the primary guy. I don't think the Commanders like Antonio Gibson all that much. I mean, Brian Robinson coming back from injury immediately surpassed Robinson or Gibson. I think as the Commander season falls more and more and more into the tank, they will look more and more and more towards Brian Robinson, if that makes any sense. All right. Thank you, everyone. If you haven't given it a thumbs up, please do so that people can find this. Yeah, TJ Hawkinson could be a good answer as well. But Amon-Ra was out, I think, during that time too, right? So that's a big difference. I think Amon-Ra gets a lot of that work. Thanks everyone for hanging out. I have to go finish up some articles tonight. So if you follow us or if you're can't even speak. If you're a subscriber on Footballguys, you'll see some updates to some articles later tonight. Thanks everybody. We'll see everyone next week. Thanks.